Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the career advancing power of becoming an author. I'm Deborah. I'm here with Yvonne. Hi Yvonne, how are you?
Hey, Deborah, I'm really great today. I'm so excited about this.
I know, me too. I'm so excited. So we're going to introduce ourselves first. I am Deborah Brown-Volkman. I am a certified career coach. I'm a career reinvention expert. I'm a career goals advisor to Fortune 500 executives. I'm a LinkedIn new job search strategist, and I am the author of 8 books.
8 books, I know, 8 books. It just blows my mind because that's such an achievement, Deborah. In my world, so I'm Yvonne DeVita, and people call me the book whisperer, and that's because I'm all about books. And I'm all about the words in books. I have a company called Master Book Builders with my husband, Tom Collins, and we've been doing this for over 20 years now, where we help indie published authors who want to be indie published, rather, um, write their book, produce their book, and then learn how to market their book. Because let me tell you, Deborah, we could
Okay.
have a whole show on marketing your book, right?
Yes.
Because we get to the end of our book writing, and we start producing the book, and then we talk about the marketing. And I introduce the marketing early on, but as we get closer to the end, the authors will say to me, I didn't know there was so much more work to do. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot more work to do.
Very, very true. So you and I, we know each other for over 3 years, right? We met
Yeah.
right. We met at Boss Academy. You edited my book, so I was, and you did an amazing job. And actually, before I get into that, so I have written 8 books. I wrote 5 of the books like 20 years ago. That's before my son. So I was writing books, writing books about your career and how to get ahead. And then my son came, and then I just stopped. I stopped writing books. And Yvonne you always encouraged me, talk about the books. I'm like, oh, those books, I wrote them such a long time ago, but you said, talk about them, talk about them. And then last year, I started writing books again. And I wrote this book, The Childhood Trauma, Some Rise, Some Fall, How to Be One of the Lucky Ones to Get Back Up. I did
Mhm.
my 6th book. And then I did a workbook, the workbook.
Mhm.
And then this year, so that was in 2024. In 2025, I just released this one, which was my
Yeah.
8th book, and Great Calling.
Yeah.
And you said, I want to edit the book. And I was afraid to send it to you because I was like, oh, what happens if she doesn't like it? But you actually like the book, right?
Yes, yes, yes. No, Debbie, you have a very unique style of writing, and you're very true to your voice in every single one of those books. Like, I have many of the books. I don't have all of them, but I have many of them. And you have carried your voice over. This is not an easy thing to do, by the way. But I want to tell you and anyone out there who's listening that here's the powerful thing about writing a book. If you write more than one book, you become more popular. So your second book sells your first book. If you write a third book, you now sell exponentially more of the second and first book. And so this works really, really well, by the way, in fiction, if you're writing a fiction series. Your books, Deborah, one of the things that impressed me about your books is you knew what you wanted to say and you said it. Now, when I edited your most recent book, I did not find a lot to fix. I mean, there were the usual commas and grammar and punctuation, which, by the way, as a writer myself, I make the same mistakes. I am not perfect. Tom will read my writing and come back with all sorts of, well, what about this? What about that? And that's wonderful, by the way. That is a wonderful thing to have another person's eyeballs on your book. So yeah, I really love your books, and I love the fact that you have such a unique and powerful voice, and you're true to it in every single one of those books.
Oh, that's really nice. And it does get easier. The first book is the toughest. The first book is the toughest. And as you write the books that get easier, I compare it to having kids. The first kid is the worst. The hardest. You don't know what you're doing, but over time it gets easier, right? All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So we have a couple of topics that we are going to get to today. And I'm very excited. The first one is why? Why do this? Why do this crazy thing called a book? Like, why do it? And it's for the benefits. things started to happen to me after I started writing books. I got invited to speak in front of 400 people.
Mhm.
Opportunities came, clients came. You
Yeah.
don't really make money on your books. At least I haven't really made money for the books. It's more like an artist. An artist doesn't make money from the CDs; they make money from touring. So opportunities came to me because of the book. And imagine if you're a job seeker, you want to advance your career. Like imagine you're going on an interview and you say, "Well, how am I going to stand out?" Well, you wrote a book. You send your book. You send it ahead. It's like an instant credibility because it's a big deal to write a book, and people just say, "Wow."
Yeah. I'll tell you a little secret, Deborah.
Okay.
Um, you could write the most terrible book in the world. It could be an awful book, but the fact that you wrote the book automatically elevates you in other people's eyes because everyone wants to write a book. I have, in the 25 years I've been doing this kind of work, I have yet to meet someone who doesn't want to write a book. When I tell them what I do, they say, "Oh, I've always wanted to write a book." Well, the people who write the book, they're the people who get all of the accolades, the respect. They become thought leaders. They become sought after speakers. And all of the people who haven't written the book now feel like, wow, you must be way smarter than me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't want to go out there saying, "Oh, go out and write a terrible book. It doesn't matter." No, that's not true. I want you to write good books, but I want people to understand that a book elevates you from the moment that you tell people you're writing it to the moment it's published, so you can start sharing it with the world. You suddenly become a bigger than life person because
Mhm.
you're writing a book.
Yes, and writing a book is not hard. Now, I know people will say, "Oh, what do you mean?" Writing a book is not hard. It's just words. If you've written an email, it's words. If you've written an article, it's words. If you've written a LinkedIn post, it's words. It's just more words. So those words, they're intimidating for people. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just a time-consuming thing to do. Now, I do all my books now. I write my books and I publish them all on Amazon, but that's only because I've done many, many books. And I've said this about you because this is what Yvonne does. She helps people write their books and get them published. So if you're your first book, you need someone like Yvonne. For someone like me, someone says, "Oh, you self-publish them, you do it yourself." It's only because I'm at book number 8.
Well, it is that, but it's also because you have learned and taught yourself, and you're happy with the result. Okay, you're happy with your covers. You have very simple covers. They speak to the purpose of the book, and the colors are, excuse me, the colors stand out. So I applaud you on that. Other people have a little bit different way of wanting to write the book. So in the books that I work on, we tell a lot of stories, a few more stories than you had told in some of your books.
Yeah.
But the writer, the people that are listening today, here's your goal. You're writing who you're writing the book for and why. It isn't for you. It's never for you. If you're writing the book because you think you're going to become rich and famous, I have got a secret to tell you. That is not going to happen. If it happens, man, we're all going to be so happy for you. But the chances of that happen is like 0.1% of all the books published. And by the way, a lot of books get published every year. Do not let anyone tell you that nobody's reading anymore and that books are not being published. They're still being published. And when you're thinking about your book, what does it have to be? Why are you writing it? What problem are you solving? And the big question that we talk about at Master Book Builders is, well, who is the audience and where do they hang out? Because that's the goal, Deborah, is you want to get the book in front of the right audience. And maybe the audience is listening to a podcast. So we ought to get you on some podcasts, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe the audience is hanging out on LinkedIn. So you've got to have a professional LinkedIn profile. So you should talk to Deborah. Maybe the audience is on Facebook. Again, it depends on who it is, why they're going to read the book, and how you're going to transform their life. Because the book has to serve that purpose. It will and by the way, it will transform your life too. I've told all of my authors rather have told me that they are different people after we're done with their book than they were at the beginning, because we uncover all sorts of things that they have forgotten about their lives and the things that they can share. And so, I mean, a book beyond, Deborah, making you a thought leader and building credibility and giving you more respect, it also teaches you, the author, something more about yourself.
It's true. And you know, when you hold your book in your hand, like when I held this book, you know, I'm so proud of myself. You know, I think that my books, I might say that they're a little easier to write because they're how-to books. Like I have something to say. Like with the childhood trauma book, with this book, you know, it was 58 years in the making. I wrote this book in 3 weeks, and I wrote it in 3 weeks because it just needed to come out. Right. So it was very how-to. You know, the Embrace Your Calling book was the other side of that. So for my books, I have something to say, and then I find that I'm saying them with people over and over and over again, and then it's just time to put them in a book so I don't have to say that.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I see a little thing quickly. I see a little thing in the chat here saying, I have a book that I wrote and was published by Crown Publishing in 2000. Any thoughts on how I can re-release it 25 years later? Okay. Absolutely, Michelle. Absolutely. You and I should talk.
Yes, I know. I like this. Okay. All right. So I'm reading this also. You know, the thing about a book is, like, I wrote a book called 4 Steps to Building a Profitable Coaching Practice. I wrote this in 2003. And back then, it was the first book written by a coach for a coach. So so it was the first one. There was only books written by entrepreneurs. Like, there wasn't a coaching book. So this was the first book for that. But it wasn't, you know, it was broken into steps. And step number first is who's your target audience and what's your program. And then the third piece is marketing. So back then, marketing was direct mail. It was. So how I would release that book now is I would keep marketing, and I would just update the marketing piece, because the components of the book are pretty much relevant, pretty much the same. What's different is the delivery.
I think you should re-release it. I think you should give it maybe a new cover. I think you can update it a little bit. And I think the fact that it was the first book written by coaches for coaches, as you just said, makes your selling point right there. And now it's the re-release of the first book. So I think that's a marvelous idea, Deborah. And I think re-releasing books, by the way. So if Michelle wants to DM me, we can talk about her book.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next topic. So different formats you can use. So you want to choose a format that supports your visibility. So quick reads and professional guides, you know, people like that. You can pass it along. And you want to consider like who you're writing it for. Like playbooks are good for job seekers, and thought leadership might be for executives. And then story driven, you know, might be for speakers. Now for this book is 100 pages. The childhood trauma book is a little over 100 pages. And I did that purposely because I wanted it to be easy. And I had a workbook. I have a workbook that came after. I didn't combine the 2 books. I said, let's give somebody 100 pages to read. If they like it, they can go on. Then they have the workbook. Small pieces. And I think that just made it easier. And people always thank me. They say my books are easy to get through.
Yeah, here's a little tip for people who are watching. You don't have to write the whole book right away. You can write a series of ebooks. Let's say you take 10 of your LinkedIn posts and you find a pattern. So there has to be a pattern, there has to be a purpose. It can't be 10 random posts. And you put them together and you expand on them a little bit. You turn them into a 10-page ebook. And then you take 10 more posts. You can develop a series of ebooks that people will be eager to read when you do that. And after you've done 5 or 10 of them, guess what? Now you have the makings of a full-fledged book that you can put together. And people will want to have all of those ebooks in one place if you do that. They may want to buy them separately, but there are many people that will want them all together. Now, I also want to talk about in this formatting. So to your point, Deborah, your audience is important. people read differently today. So as you've done in your books, shorter paragraphs, sometimes single sentences, we tend to skim things a little bit more than we used to do. It doesn't mean you can't write full paragraphs. I'm just saying that there are times when it's useful to do that. Well, after that, you want to think about the format of the book itself. So this is a landscape book. And you can see on the inside, it's a photography book with, and that one doesn't have any text, but there's also text involved. And this is it, because it's a photography book, it's made like this. This is the book. Look at the size of this. 15 minutes Q&A. Tiny little book, pocketbook. Put it in your pocket, take it anywhere with you. We've got author podcasting from my friend Janine Boland, right? This is like your book. Very short, but it has more dense paragraphs, but a small book again. And so my book, the How to Write a Book book, this is your typical 6x9. This is very typical, 6x9. This is our author's book, The Lyme Regis Murders, Andrew Segal. Kind of same size, a little bit bigger, I think, than my book, you'll see. And then this book that Tom and Michelle did is a little bigger, but the inside, it's important to note, the inside of this book was designed purposely for people to write in the margins. So those are things to think about, not just the writing itself, but the book production.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? This book, the childhood trauma book, was 6x9, and I did it in reds. And then I had the workbook, right? Yeah. The workbook I purposely did in blue. And then I did it by 8.5x11 so people could write in it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the two books, like I just like it. I like that it stands out a little bit.
Yes. Exactly.
All right, so now we're rocking and rolling. I love this. Love efficiency, by the way. So we're going to move into topic number 3, which is how to get started. It's like, where do I start? So I like LinkedIn, especially people here. If you're on LinkedIn, you're scrolling, you're reading, you're posting. So your existing posts, like what you write about on a regular basis, even though it's small, that's small, but 500, 750 words, but you're writing about something, you're passionate about something, that is a good topic for you. You can look at your comments. What are people saying? Like, oh, that's interesting. What type of questions are people asking you? That type of thing. Interesting. You can spend time on LinkedIn and say, what are the trending topics? Not to jump on the bandwagon, but I write about career. So I'm interested if a trending topic is about layoffs or what's coming on or where AI is going. So, even though that's a topic that's in the moment, it just gives me ideas. Do I want to talk about this? Do I like this? And also, the thing about a book is, someone told me this years ago, write about something that you don't mind talking about for the next 2 years. Now, I don't know if that's what she said years ago, because when you write a book, you want to talk about the book and talk about the book. You have to love the topic so much that you can talk about it every day, at least.
Well, here's the thing, Deborah, and I know I'm interrupting a little, but I have a little pea brain and I'll forget what I want to say.
All right.
So, I really feel that you should jump on the bandwagon. If your book, and we want books to be relevant to what's in the news today, we want them to be relevant to what people are trying to learn from. People want their lives transformed. They want to know how you got to be where you are because you're so successful. They want to know how to write a book when they talk to me, because they know that I've written books and that I've studied and I'm part of the book industry. And so if your book serves a purpose that is relevant to something going on today in the world. Now,
right, but the only thing about that is a topic today might be a topic that's something that's different 3 months.
It might be, yes. But it might not. Your books are practically evergreen, and evergreen means they last for a long time, right? So
Right.
a lot of the time, if we're talking to business people and professionals here on LinkedIn right now, the content that they're going to be sharing is probably useful for many, many years to come. And that brings me to something we should mention, that when you write a book, you're leaving a legacy.
Sure.
Regardless of whether or not the content in the book is not as useful 20 years from now as it is today, the book that you write represents you. It represents your voice. If it's a business book, it represents the business that you're in. If it's fiction, it represents your creativity. And so many books that people write that are relevant to what's happening in the world today, whether it's the business world or the bigger world, whatever it is, they're still relevant. Tom is reading a book, I think, that was published 20 years ago about America. And it doesn't encompass the last 20 years. It's all the stuff that went before, but it's relevant. There's content in it that is relevant to what we are doing and going through today. So think about the fact that whatever your book is, there are parts of it that will be evergreen. And if it's relevant to news today, things that are happening to the people, the audience that you're serving, things that are happening to them, absolutely put that in your book. Jump on that bandwagon, because these people are trying to do whatever it is that you can teach them to do that they don't know how. And that's why I call my next book, Deborah.
Okay.
I call it Bleeding on the Page. And Bleeding on the Page, how to show emotion, create tension, and share more compelling stories in your nonfiction book. Because when you write a book like what you wrote, Deborah, you bled on the page in some rise, some fall, and you taught us something. We could relate. Now, myself, I've been through some tough times also, and I just, it didn't trigger me. It made me feel closer to you. And then embrace your calling. That taught me something, because I can learn things. Just because I'm in the world of writing books doesn't mean I can't learn something about business, because, by the way, writing a book is a business. It's a new small business. If you already have a business and you're writing a book, it becomes part of your business. I just want you to know that. And so I learned things from that. And I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I do want to say, because this topic is about advancing your career, right? Advancing your career. So if you want to write a book, you want to show your thought leadership, you want to show that you have something to say. And I agree with you. You can take your LinkedIn posts, you can take stuff that you've done, you can take your articles. You know, I did a post the other day on how I wrote a book in 3 weeks, and how I did it is I did the chapters, and then I filled in what I know. And the stuff that I filled in was what I already had. And then research the other pieces. So it was much easier. But you want to take what you already have, what you already are talking about, what you're already passionate about. That's the basis for the book. That's your basis.
Yeah, that's the basis for the book. And you don't have to start at the beginning. Everyone gets hung up on the beginning. That's one of the biggest questions that I get, by the way, is, well, how do I get started? And so sometimes I tell people, we'll start in the middle. Just start in the middle. Just sit down and write something that happened to you last week, instead of trying to think about, well, I got to think all the way back to 5 years ago when I started my business. Don't do that. Start in the middle, and then just continue going from there, like you said. It's helpful if you can create an outline. Not everybody can. There are tools online to help you do that if you want. I can help you do that if you want. And in the end, just write as if you were speaking to the audience. Now, I'm going to say one more thing here about that. When you write as if you're speaking, you have to then have an editor, because you forget that the audience doesn't know everything you know. And I find this with many of my authors, where I have to say to them, I don't have a clue what you're talking about here. I'm the reader. So I approach my work. I work for and serve the author, but my allegiance is to the reader. And so I represent the reader, and I have to say, I need you to explain this to me. You know what you were talking about because you're thinking that you're speaking it in front of an audience, and that's great. Get that down. That's your first draft. But then you have to stop and say, well, the curse of I know what I know, and you don't know what I know, right?
Yeah. No, I know. I really like that. So write what you want to write about. When I wrote the trauma book, I wrote the childhood trauma book, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. And someone said to me, just write it. Write it. You don't even have to publish it. Just do it. You'll see what you want to do when you get it. I knew I was going to publish it, but it was a scary thing to put out there because I was sharing story. Like the career reinvention is, how to find a career you love and you're meant to do, and that's important stuff. But it wasn't as personal as what happened to me growing up. So it took courage. It took courage for me to put that book out.
Absolutely. It takes courage to put any book out there, but that kind of a book is a very courageous thing to do, and it helps so many people. There's the authenticity is very apparent in all of your work, Deborah. I mean, and that's what I mean about having that strong voice that you have and how it comes through in every single one of your books, at least the ones that I've read. Excuse me, I'm getting over a chest cold here. But the average person, a professional who's looking to enhance their business or someone
or their career.
Right. So someone who's now looking to either change careers for whatever reason, maybe they were abruptly left their other career, and maybe they're just deciding, I want to do something different, right?
Right.
Writing the book can be as easy as taking those LinkedIn posts, finding that pattern, and just embellishing a little bit, making sure that you're not holding back where the reader needs information and you're not putting it there. So that's where you kind of need an editor. You don't need the kind of editing I do, although I did make a few little points in your book when I was editing it, because you're a good writer and you have a grasp of the English language. I find myself baffled by professionals who didn't graduate fourth grade, I don't think. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. I had it might be coming up tomorrow. I have a video about, does it matter if your writing is sloppy? No. Does that make you a bad writer? No. Here's what happens if you have sloppy writing. You hire an editor, and your editor will fix up that sloppiness. It's the stories you tell. It's the way that you relate to the audience and how you can help them in whatever promise you're making, because a book is a promise, right? I'm promising that this is going to do something good for you if you read it, whatever that is. So sloppy writing, no. Doesn't mean you're a bad writer. It just means you need an editor.
You need an editor. Nobody's good at everything. All right. So 30 minutes goes quick. I told you it would go quick. So Yvonne, we're going to wrap up. Is there anything you want to say? Last minute, 30 seconds. You like to say?
Last minute. Connect with me on LinkedIn. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I write about this stuff every single day, as Deborah knows. And if you have questions about a book or you're thinking about writing a book, I have Ask Me Anything sessions that you can sign up for. So connect with me here on LinkedIn.
Yes, connect with me too. Most of you are connected with me, and I'm so grateful you're here. There were some comments that came across after this live. Yvonne, I'm going to go back in and we'll comment on your comments. I want to thank you all for being here. It's a big deal. Everybody's really busy, and you chose to spend time with us. So we want to thank you for attending this, for listening to this. Have a great day, and don't forget to share this link with your network.
Thank you, Deborah.